All right, people, so example number 4 for literal equations. Here's an application. I don't know if you remember, who could forget, but before spring break, when we were on assignment 8, we talked about this formula that I found when I was in college that I used to figure out the love of my life. If you remember, and I'll take you back to that day, prior to spring break, we had this formula up here, and talked about when I was single, I wanted to find a wife who would help me fulfill my dream of having a son who would grow up to be 7'3". I'm 6'2". The question was, how tall did the mother of my child need to be? Again, this was prior to meeting the love of my life. So if you recall, we put my height in for F, father's height. We put the 7'3" in for the adult height of my boy. This was this was back when I was in college and I was single. And then we solved it for M to find out how tall the mother of my child needed to be. That worked. We plugged the number here, and solved for M. That worked. That was assignment 8. But, you know, a mathematician might look at it from this point of view. What if we took the formula and before we plug numbers into it, let's rearrange it. Let's solve it for M. So as it says here, solve for M. So we're going to do that. M is the variable. And so here we go. Let's get M by itself, and then we'll talk about what this new formula would be used for. So we're going to isolate M. Clear fractions? Yes. By the way, there's multiple ways to do things. I've mentioned that to you guys many times. Others out there watching might say, why did you do that? Why did he do this? That's fair enough. But anyway, if we distribute that 2 to both sides of the equation, we'll have 2 times the adult height of the boy equals. Now we have to realize over here that the fraction f plus m over 2 and the 3 are separate terms. And so that 2 we're introducing needs to be distributed to each one individually. So that 2 over 1, ignore the plus 3, wouldn't that 2 that we're introducing cancel that 2? That's why we're introducing 2, by the way. So wouldn't that just leave, in the case of the fraction, the numerator f plus m, all right, plus, and then when we distribute that to the 3 times 2, 6, okay? So there we go with that. Now, remember, we're solving this for m. We'll talk about y here in a minute, but I would point out that variable m is in one term, so all we got to do is move things away from it. And let's not overthink it here. Couldn't we, since the f and the 6 are both being added, we'll just subtract the f from both sides. And while we're at it, we can subtract the 6. Now, look, if it's the same operation, in this case addition, you can do it in one step. That's fine. But if they're different operations, they have to be done, one after the other. Anyway, so we're left with 2 times the adult height of the boy minus f minus 6 equals m. All right? I'm going to flip it around because, again, in math, we typically say variable equals math expression. That just kind of makes it a little bit more traditional. Although you know me, I'm not worried about being a little bit unconventional. But here's the point of that new formula. Let's say you owned a dating service. All right, this is really good, right? Let's say you owned a dating service, and frequently men would walk in with the question that I had at the beginning of this, whereby they said, I want the adult height of my boy to be 7'3", and I'm 6'2". I'm going to be the father of the child. You would put those numbers in here and do all the math over here on one side, and that would help you figure out how tall the mother needs to be. So that would just be an easier way to find it if you were to encounter that situation multiple times. I'll remind you, back on assignment 8 when we did this, you quit watching, by the way, but I want to remind you, when we put my 7'3", the adult height of the boy that I want, and the fact I'm 6'2" in here, and crunch the numbers, it turned out that my future wife, needed to be 94 inches tall, which then converted to 7'10". And, hey, look, I always want to share that with people. Yeah, so I searched the world, and as you remember, I found her, my lovely Helga, my 7'10" wife. And not only that, but she had some basketball skills. So, again, one more time, true love Math helped me find my true love. Isn't that awesome? Wow. Love you, honey.